Hi, Sue Frey here, and this is my second video for the day. Today I am at the Conrad Weiser homestead, which is just a little east of the town of Wilmersdorf on the western part of the Berks County border. And I picked this place because, one, I like Conrad Weiser, and there's so much history. I think he was more popular than Daniel Boone, but that's personal preference. And also I picked it because we have here a statue to the Indian chief Shikellamy, who was an Oneida Indian chief. I'm going to talk today about Shikellamy and also about the Iroquois Confederation, which is also known as the Six Nations. Okay, Shikellamy was, like I said, an Oneida chief, an overseer for the Iroquois, responsible for keeping the southern boundary protecting the southern boundary of the Iroquois Confederation. Now, the Oneida, a little background on them, they were one of the 5 founding nations of the Iroquois Confederation. Their name means people of the upright stone or standing stone. The Oneida originally were living up in New York, about east center of New York, Oneida Lake is named after the Indians in Oneida County. Imagine all of this is, where they were located. There were other Oneida, some up in Canada, some further to the west. But the main ones that we're going to talk about today were the ones in this portion of New York. Their name, Standing Stone, legend has it that the name came about when some of the Indians were being chased through the forest by enemies, and as they broke out of the forest into a clearing, they disappeared. Their enemies searched high and low, could not find them. Supposedly, what are now Oneidas transformed themselves into stones in the clearing, and that's why the enemies couldn't find them, and so they got their name, the standing people of the upright stone, or people of the standing stone, because they turned themselves into stones to prevent getting killed. The Iroquois, a little more on the Iroquois. These are the people of the longhouse. That's the type of structure that they lived in. Their homes were long homes. I will try to include a picture below of a long house. They were known by the French as the Iroquois League, then later the Iroquois Confederation. The English knew them as the 5 Nations and later as the 6 Nations. They were made up of Mohawk, Onondagas, Oneidas, Cayuga, and Seneca. In 1722, they accepted the Tuscarora people from the southeast into their confederation, and then they became known as the 6 Nations. There were the St. Lawrence Iroquoians, the Wyandot, which are Hurons, the Erie, the Susquehannock. All of these spoke Iroquoian languages, but they were not part of the 6 Nations. Actually, they were enemies, and they would occasionally fight with the 6 Nations. Legend has it that the Iroquois Confederation was formed through the hard work of 3 people, 2 men, 1 woman. Oneida, called the Great Peacemaker, Hiawatha, and Shikellamy, who was known as the mother of all of the nations. They set up an egalitarian society where no one person was more important than anyone else. The disputes were settled by consensus of the 50 chiefs, which comprised the Great Council. These chiefs all had different areas that they were in charge of. They would come together for large meetings and discuss things, and a group decision was made. Actually, you learned about the Boston Tea Party, where the colonists took the tea and threw it over the side of the boats, and they dressed up like Indians. People say it was done because they didn't want to take blame for it. No, those colonists were proud of what they did. They wanted to have credit for it. But they also dressed like Indians to honor the type of government that the Indians had. They liked the idea of representative government like you had here, where the 50 chiefs would be meeting and they would make decisions for the group. Now, they settle disputes. They really didn't control the different groups. The 5 Nations were independent, autonomous, okay? But they did go to the council when they needed to settle disputes. And later, when it came to making treaties, the council was who was involved with the treaties, and by consensus, they would agree to various things with the colonial government. Okay, The Lenni Lenape and the Shawnee, they were defeated by the Iroquois, and they became tributaries, but they did not become members of the Six Nations. So what that meant was they would every year pay a tribute to the Six Nations in order to not be slaughtered, to be allowed to continue living. The Six Nations looked down on these Indians, and when I later talk about the walking purchase, you'll see, because some of them referred to the Lenni Lenape as dogs, not worthy of making a decision on their own. And so with the walking purchase, the Iroquois actually gave away quite a lot of land that was Lenni Lenape land, but they did it for a couple of reasons. One, like I said, they didn't consider the Lenni Lenapes worthy, and second, by making this agreement and giving away that land to the colonial government, the Iroquois were establishing themselves as having control of the land, even though they never really did. So it was a dirty trick on their part. The colonies, under actually Thomas Penn, William Penn's son, and his land manager, John Logan, pulled a dirty trick on the Indians. But like I said, I'll do a video on that later. I hope you'll come back for that. Shikellamy, okay, in 1711, like I mentioned in my Conrad Weiser video, in 1711, refugees from the Palatinate, what is now Germany, they had gone, prior to that, 1710, they went to England looking for refuge to get away from the wars and the ravaged countryside that was their area in the Palatinate, in what is now Germany. Queen Anne made arrangements to ship them from England to the new colonies, they went into the New York colony, Livingston Manor on the Hudson, where they worked off the cost of their trip. They were indentured servants. They didn't like living on Livingston. They didn't get what they were promised. They made arrangements then with they went to the Iroquois clan women and they asked permission to move to Iroquois territory. It was granted. So then 150 of the German families moved from Livingston Manor to the Schoharie Valley. From there, eventually, some of them moved down to this area of what's called the Tolbahakin. Shikellamy, like I mentioned, was a chief and an overseer of the Lenni Lenape and the Shawnee. He settled the disputes and was responsible for protecting the southern border of the Iroquois Confederation. In 1728, he was living up near Milton, up in the Poconos. Some of you might be familiar with the Shawnee resorts and stuff up there named after the Indians. So he originally was when he first enters history, it's up in Milton in 1728. 1742, he is now living over in Shamokin Village, which is current-day Sunbury. He served as a go-between between the Iroquois nation and with Conrad Weiser as an interpreter with the provincial government in Philadelphia. The two of them would work out treaties. Conrad Weiser would be the interpreter. Shikellamy represented the Indians. And this went on, and it was a very productive relationship. And as a matter of fact, Shikellamy was rewarded for his help by having a huge building built, a home built for him up in Shamokin. It was 49.5 feet long, 19 feet wide, and all of it under one roof. It was a very large building. Shikellamy had converted to Christianity by the Moravians, and they actually had an outpost up there near Shamokin. And Shikellamy allowed them there because he thought that the Moravians had the Indians' best interests at heart. They weren't interested in the Indians first. They weren't interested in taking land from the Indians, and they definitely did not give the Indians any alcohol. So Shikellamy allowed them to stay in the area. The Moravians, on the other hand, thought that they would convert the Indians and then hopefully increase good relationships between the Indians and the colony of Pennsylvania. Shikellamy had been down in Bethlehem, current-day Bethlehem, and on his way back to Shamokin, he fell ill, and then he actually died December 6, 1748. He is remembered, like I said, for being a representative of the Iroquois. I'm sorry, there's some kind of vehicle in the back. I hope it doesn't interfere too much. But he is honored here at Conrad Weiser Park with this statue. I'll try and back up so you can see it. And I don't know. Oh, the sun is shining too brightly. There is a statue of Shikellamy. I will have pictures and I'll post it in the comments below. And here is the plaque on the border, on the boulder that was presented at the time that the statue was put up. Like I said, Shikellamy was a well-known and important person in keeping the peace here in colonial Pennsylvania. I hope you check out my video on Conrad Weiser. I'm also going to do, like I said, the walking purchase and some other treaties I'll talk about in another video. I'll talk about the effort of cloister, which Conrad Weiser was a part of. I'm going to also look into the effort of cloister. I'm going to do like Isaac Meyer in Myerstown. I'm going to try and hit several different historical places. I'm also going to intersperse my videos with different things to see and do in the area. Not all of them are historical, but most of them will have a historical bent. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that you come back and check out more of my videos. And if you have any questions, please put it in the comment section. I'll get back to you. If you have any suggestions for other places you might be interested in learning about, I'll do those also. I previously had done one on the Cornwall furnace. You can search back through my page and find that. But like I said, I'm going to try and hit more historical places, things to see, things to do, and hopefully you learn a little bit also from my videos. Thank you for your time. I hope you step back. Bye.